video tutorial, we're going to create our first interactive application for an iPhone. So launch Xcode and click on Create New Xcode Project. I am going to go full screen here, choose iOS application, and from the templates let's choose single view application. Click Next, and I'm going to call it Interactive App. Leave it set for iPhone, click Next, and save it to the desktop, no Git repository. And it pulls up the general configuration for this app. But you'll notice because we're using a single view app, it's given us this storyboard interface over here in the navigator column, and a couple of view controller files. So we have a view controller class, a header file, and an M file. So I'm going to simply click on main storyboard here, so we can see the storyboard interface, and you can see that this just tells us that this view controller, this is the starting point, so that's what that arrow means there. And what I want to do is I want to drag out a couple of objects onto my interface. So I'm going to go over to the objects panel over here and scroll down in my list, and the first thing I want to drag out is a text field. I'm going to drag that text field out. I'm going to pop it up here to the top left hand side of the interface, and I'm going to make it stretch all the way across to the side of the iPhone screen. So there's my text field. With the text field open over in the property inspector area over here, you'll see if you click on the attributes inspector, which is the third from the right inspector part here, if we click on that, there's a placeholder text field, and we're going to go into the placeholder text, and we're going to put in the placeholder text is going to be, please enter your name, and hit return. And so now you should see faintly in that text field, please enter your name. So this text object is an input field for the user to input some information. In this case, they're going to enter their name. So then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to drag out a button and pop it here, somewhere around here. And I'm going to double click on my button and replace the button text with simply enter text. And then the other thing we're going to add is a label. So this is going to be our output area where the user's name will be displayed. They'll enter their name, we'll press enter button, they'll press the enter button, and then their name will be returned with a little greeting into this label output field. And I'm going to stretch this also to the width of the iPhone screen. And I'm also going to, with that in this label area, I'm going to click on this again, and I'm going to center the text. So over in the property inspector over here, I click on the center, align center, and so the name will be centered in there. Okay, so I've got my interface set up here, and now I'm ready to make sure that all of these objects become part of the Xcode interface. And to do that, and to enter code to make these actions work, we have to switch to the Code Assistant view over here, which is the second from the left icon in the top, which is the Assistant Editor. We're going to click on that, and it opens up my view controller M file. And as you know from the previous tutorial, we need to start with the header file. And if you don't know, well, now you know. We need to start by defining what these objects are going to do in the in the header file. And the first thing we're going to do is just take a look here. We have import, the import declaration up here, as you can see, and it's bringing in the UI kit framework. So that's going to handle classes such as this UI view controller class, which is our main interface that we're using. So all we're going to do after the line where it declares the interface view controller and the class UI view controller class, we're going to go one line down here, but instead of having to actually manually enter the code, Xcode lets you drag and drop these objects into the interface to hook up your parts of the code to these objects. So to do that, you select the object, my text field, click on the control key on your keyboard, and while you hold the control key down, you're going to click and drag onto the into the header file and release it, and then it opens up this connection pop-up window. We're going to choose outlet because the text field is going to be an outlet. So we're going to leave it set to outlet. We're going to call it my text. You can see I'm using camel casing here. UI text field, yes, it's going to be type UI text field. And the storage is weak, and we'll talk a little bit more about this in coming weeks, but leave this set to weak for the moment in terms of the storage, and then simply click connect, and it puts the code in there for us. So it sets the property IB outlet UI text field my text, weak, non-atomic, once again, terms that we'll cover a little bit later in the class, but just leave those for the moment. And you can see this little button is highlighted here, which means that it's hooked this up to the M file or the implementation file, and we'll see that that's given us code already in the M file, as we'll see in a second. Let's hook up next the label. So we're going to control click and drag once again from the label, drop it there. This is also going to be an outlet, only this one we're going to call my label, and leave it as UI label, weak, click connect. And you can see it's written the code here for that as well. Notice it's set these pointers, the asterisks before that, to actually allocate memory for these objects. And then after that, we're going to hit return a couple of times. And now we're going to add an action, which, as you'll see here, is a little bit different. So the button, rather than being an outlet, we click and drag the button here, and it's going to be, instead of an outlet, it's going to be an action. So the button is receiving an action from the user. It's not an output. And we're going to call this simply my button. Leave it set ID. Touch up inside. This is the way that iOS object buttons work. The touch up inside syntax is used here. Arguments sender. Leave it all default. Click connect. And so now we've got this IB action method for my button to work. And so now we've set up our header file, and we're ready to go into the second video here, which is going to show us how to get all of these objects to work and to actually interact with the user. And so here we go to the next video.